Sure. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Internet Association of Australia acknowledges the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we meet today and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in this meeting. I'm speaking from the land of the Kamiarl people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and recognise and celebrate the diversity of the Aboriginal people and their ongoing culture and connections to the land and the waters of Australia.
Thanks, Matt. I'll confirm that we now have a quorum so we can get started. So I'll officially call the 2021 Annual General Meeting for the Internet Association of Australia Limited open at 3 minutes past 5 p.m. Sydney time. Hi everybody, thank you for coming. For those who don't know me, my name is David Hooton. I'm the chair of IAA at the moment. Our first item of business is the acknowledgement of the previous minutes. These were reviewed and accepted by the board at the first board meeting after the 2020 AGM. Also like to thank our staff and board for all of their work this year. There's been a fairly significant amount of change in the business and a huge amount of progress made. Special mention to Matt McDonough, who's retiring from the board this AGM. Thank you, Donut, for everything you've done over the years. And also to Washif, who is one of our staff members that's moving on at the moment. So good luck on your next adventure. I'll now hand over to Matt Enger, Deputy Chair, for his report.
Thanks, Dave. The financials and the auditor's report were made available to members on Friday, the 12th of November, and are available to download from our website. In summary, as you can see on the screen, we have income of 3.66 million, which is up from 2.98 million last year, a net surplus of $921,000, which is up from 547 roughly in 2020, significant cash balance of 1.9 million, significant COVID-related budget impact, however, some ways plus, some ways minus, net assets of 3.64 million, and the board is also currently reviewing the IA's not-for-profit tax position. For the network upgrades or expansion are likely in 2021-22, and basically, is there any questions?
If anybody has any questions, could they please raise their hand?
Yes, raise your hand and we'll let you speak. Okay.
MMC. Can you
Nick, can you give MMC the ability to talk for a second, please?
Go for it, Matt.
Sorry, you may want to clarify what it means that we are reviewing the not-for-profit status. It's not that we are changing the organisation or want to become a profitable company. This is to do with how our income is recognised by the tax office. It's not our choice. We are trying to work through some of those things.
Yeah, Matt's correct. The accountants picked up that some of our income may not be tax exempt, and we're just getting all that clarified and sorted out and going through processes to get that sorted out now. So we're hoping to have that sorted out soon.
That is specifically referred to under Note 5 of the annual report, financial report.
Yep.
Cool. Any other questions at all? Let's keep going then, Matt.
Okay, appointment of auditor. Go to the next slide, Daryl. There we go. The auditor was appointed for the first time last year and has been responsive and thorough, completing both an interim and a final audit in a timely fashion. The board is recommending that Crunch Auditing of Suite 3, 128 Main Street, Osborne Park, WA 6017 be adopted by the members as our auditor for the financial year 20 to 21. so next year. So the motion is that the Crunch Auditing ABN 43158633615 of Suite 3, 128 Main Street, Osborne Park, WA 6017 be adopted as the IAA auditor for the financial year 2021 at the fee of $5,000. Could I ask those in favour please to click and raise the hands button? You do not need to lower your hand. If you could just raise it for us so that we could record.
Right, I've recorded those, so Nick, all the hands down now, please.
Could I also now ask if anyone is voting against it, could they please, and Hooten, can you lower your hand? Could you please indicate now by raising your hand?
So we've got no hands up there, so that motion's been passed. Thanks, everyone.
Just if people want to see what Nathan's put in the comments, it might be a valid point.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, we're going to have to do that again.
22.
All right, let's do that vote again so that we are actually passing the correct financial year. So the board is recommending that Crunch Auditing of Suite 3, 128 Main Street, Osborne Park, WA 6017 be adopted by members as their auditor for 2021-22 for a fee of $5,000. Could I ask those in favour to raise their hand again, please?
All right, I've got those. We can put hands down.
Okay. You'll need to lower your hand again, Hooten.
Yep.
And could I now ask those if are voting against it to raise their hand?
And once again, we've got no objections. So that motion's been passed.
Excellent. I'll hand back to Narelle. You need to unmute Narelle.
I've been that person again, leaving myself on mute. Somebody shout bingo. So thank you again, Nathan, for that pickup. That was very, very much appreciated. That has been, of course, checked 15 times over by about 3 or 4 different people. I'd also like to add to folks that our auditor is indeed present. So if people did have specific questions of the auditor, he is available and the questions can be directed at him. So hopefully there are no questions of the auditor, and I shall move us along to the next slide for my report. Hopefully you will have all had a chance to download our wonderful, shiny new annual report with its beautiful cover and lots of lovely pictures and lots of detail. We're very proud of the staff for having put that together again this year. But yes, we have a strong team which is growing with the organisation. We've renewed our strategic plan this year and instituted some great training for the board to make sure that they're onboarded in a way that means they're effective right from day one and can continuously improve and grow in their skills in the governance and strategic planning area. We've had some great online events. We've completed our transition to a company limited by guarantee. We've upgraded the network, we're putting out a new portal, and we've also supported our friends and colleagues across the ditch in New Zealand. So a little bit more detail in some of this. Yes, we've had some great events this year, and hopefully a lot of you have had a chance to attend at least some of them. We've had member consultations, and that was what allowed us to transition across to a company limited by guarantee. We've had technology and policy future-looking sessions. We did a session jointly with the Australian Computer Society where I looked at the past, the present and the future of the internet technology across a whole range of different areas. Plus we had those great vibrant sessions with people discussing the various regulatory and technology issues going into the future with some great guest speakers from not only here in Australia but from around the world. We had a wonderful session on rolling your own ISP and on growing networks across Western Australia. We've also participated in numerous external events, and that has been great. One of which is pictured below, which is part of our sponsorship here with WITWA, the Western Australian, Women in Technology Western Australia. We also supported Apricot and APIX and NetThing as well, which was a great session just a couple of weeks ago that set the tone for a lot of the rest of the whole conference. It was great. People kept on talking about how the internet is essential. So it was a wonderful event to take part in. As I said, we completed our transition to a company limited by guarantee. We found a bunch of things that meant that being a Western Australian incorporated association just didn't really sit right with the way we work in today's modern world. And by transitioning across to a company limited by guarantee, we're working with a stronger regulator with indeed more governance and stricter rules to adhere to. But we do have one government agency to deal with. Plenty of information that we can get from third parties as well to help us along if we have questions about how all this works. And our constitution will be owned by us as an organisation, not by the, other than the changes to legislation, of course, but at any time under the Western Australian rules, they can institute updates to the model rules that we would then have to comply with, even though we haven't even seen them. So there's a bunch of things that we're now getting the advantage of under the new registration as a company limited by guarantee. And here you have on the picture on the screen there on the right-hand side, our actual certificate of registration. So we're very pleased to have that. We've had some great successes in our public policy work. We appointed Nidika Midha, who has been just spectacular as our first policy officer. We've held a roundtable with NBNCO on the onboarding process there, and we've had members report back to us that their whole experience with NBNCO has improved in their onboarding. We got some outcomes with the Measuring Broadband Australia system with the AWST, meaning that any of our service provider members or any of the smaller service providers across the country can now have the opportunity to join that scheme and therefore then get the benefit of these publicly benchmarked results on how their network performs. We've been invited inside the tent on a number of occasions recently to a number of different regulatory workshops. We've been to Home Affairs town halls on critical infrastructure and on cyber security. We're in there with the AWST and for the NBN Standard Access Undertaking review, which is going on at the moment. We've been a part of the Online Safety Act implementation with the E-Safety Commissioner and other parties across that sector. And we were knee-deep in the defamation reviews with the Attorney General's Department, and I'll tell you that was an interesting forum to be part of. We're also doing joint submissions with other industry groups where that is advisable, meaning that we can come together with other players across the industry and put a stronger position to government or whoever else needs to be told. We've got a vibrant new communications approach. Hopefully you're all enjoying our social media, both Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter with Emily Gillard, who's been producing some really great little graphics and smart pieces and scheduling them effectively across the different platforms. We've also participated with the Scams Awareness campaign, which is run by the ACMA, the Australian Communications and Media Authority, and made material available for our members to use should they choose to. We've also got a couple of good blogs. We haven't done so many so far, but we're still in the process of releasing these blogs, which are great little, largely technical pieces about how you can do internet better. And that means we contribute effectively to the overall educational programs for the internet industry. Back to our network. So we've been doing upgrades everywhere. I'm so proud of the technical team, with Nick, Washif and Aaron and Marcus. They've been really doing some great work. We shut down we consolidated QV1 and vacated one little dank, dark room that was just an awful place, and have now consolidated in there. So our place of origin is still intact, but and thanks to the assistance of our member Cyphertel, we didn't end up with a horrible outage throughout that time. So QV1's been cleaned out and consolidated. We're also doing that actually in Global Switch, but that is a still in train piece of work. We removed the BDX8s, the black diamonds, from the core of our network. We still have a couple of 1 gig ports connected in Melbourne. Don't tell anybody, but those 2 boxes are not the core of our network anymore. For New Zealand, we completed 2 new major projects: a whole new IX in Wellington and a new DC in Auckland. So Auckland is now slightly bigger with that extra data vault data centre in place. And Wellington is a whole new IX, which is just live, I believe, from the 1st of November. We replaced our looking glass. We've got new compute clusters installed in Sydney and Perth. We've done firmware upgrades across pretty much everywhere, more than once, I think, in some cases, but that was done in a nice, seamless way so that everything works beautifully in all of the places. And we've got 100 gigs in almost every IX, but it's in the major IXs at least. So apologies to those smaller traffic places that haven't really shown us the demand for 100 gig yet, but you'll get it as soon as you show us that. And of course, we've completed our RPKI rollout, so the routes are good, nicely signed, and we will drop the ones that you send us that are bogans, basically. And we finished our intercapital upgrade, so that means we've got diversity, improved capacity and redundancy everywhere. So here's a picture of what the network looks like. And actually, we have this on a beautiful mouse mat. Actually, we will have exactly this on a beautiful new mouse mat coming soon, of course. As all network diagrams go, by the time you get it printed, it's already been upgraded. But if you have a look here, we've tried to separate out all of the nice, different, clean, separate pathways that we have. There is only one tiny leg, I believe, in South Australia that is duplicated, but it's a very, very short run. So our level of comfort there with nice geographic diversity and good solid capacity across the network is in place. Yes, one thing I've got to mention is the fact that we have a new website that will be launched as of, well, now, but we'll cut over tomorrow just for ease of download of all the packs and papers and so forth that I know you all needed today. So the new website will go live tomorrow, and there's a couple of pictures on the screen now showing you how wonderful our new website will look. It's been a lot of effort from the team, and they've done a huge amount of work there. They've pulled together beautifully to sort of check all the things and make sure all the right pieces are in all the right places. So there'll be a few good features there, folks. You'll be able to price up your own links nicely and neatly when assessing the new VLL services that you might want, or extended reach services. And of course, the portal is close to complete. We're not ready to launch that just yet. We want to make sure that it's fully tested and ready to go. We'll have a brand new portal fairly soon for folks. Pretty much it'll be like for like at present, with a few things that we'll be fixing, which of course like billing, automated billing, so that's nice and clean. So when you lodge your orders, it will flow through nicely there. And then in the new year, we will finish scoping out some of the additional pieces of automation coming from that will come from the portal. A couple of things to mention. Over the year, we've had we actually cracked 800 gig in aggregate, and that happened on I think it was the 17th of December, and unfortunately we were all too busy at the time to notice. But we did actually crack the 800 gig in aggregate mark, and I couldn't help but throw in a couple of those graphs there to show. Look at the change in morphology of the you know, for the last 30 years, the internet has had that pretty much same daily peak of traffic, but now it's almost like a square wave. But instead of being the old sawtooth, it's now moved across to be a square wave. So people get out of bed in the morning and they hit the internet, and they all do it together, and they stay there all day. And that's clearly the case, as is evidenced by our graphs. Oh yeah, I should also mention that our peered ASNs are up from this time last year from 318 to now 350. We've got over 100,000 IPv4 routes. I wish we'd noticed when that milestone was hit throughout the year too. And over 50,000 IPv6 routes being presented across the IXs. So that's obviously a really valuable point for our contribution to the internet in Australia. We're growing our port capacity. So you can see here on this wonderful graph that it's in accumulated capacity that we've got provisioned across the states in terms of each individual amount of ports, the count as it tracks up. Obviously, there's a slight, as the 100 meg and 1 gig and 10 gigs all disappear out, and the new, the new black is of course 40 and 100 gig. That overall capacity just grows. Thoughts for the future, folks? We're going to focus, I think, a bit more on growth, and that is to make sure that we've got the number of ports that you require to support the network, and that it continues to be robust. I have this ongoing bugbear about single points of failure, and I hate seeing them anywhere, so it will be our quest to keep on eradicating those. The portal automation is a critical project for us next year, and to get more content onto the exchanges, because I know that's what you want. Our advocacy issues, of course, will remain front and foremost. We will not drop the momentum that we've managed to achieve this year. We've really had some great impact, and we're inside the tent with the regulators and so forth, so we want to stay there. And the issues there are really the burden of regulation that you all face, the surveillance role that ISPs and other internet providers are having to play, the issues around content, and the regulation of content through the imposition of infrastructure steps, where they want takedowns of content by making the pipes and plumbing not work. That is of great concern for us, I think, as operators in this space. And of course, professional matters to those of us in the industry. We want to keep on growing and making this an effective industry with great people that we can all be proud of. And of course, last but not least, is the NBN pricing issues and the good old CVC charges that I know you all don't love. So I'm very keen to hear from folks what they think our focus should be. And I'm prepared to take any questions now if people would like to pose any or any comments. I can't actually see the chat window from where I'm sitting, so if somebody else could relay them to me, that would be helpful.
Nobody's sticking their hands up or asking any questions in the chat at this point in time.
I'm always accessible, folks. If you want to email me directly or pick up the phone and call me, I don't mind. Actually, we're allowed out of the house now. We're even calling from the office here in Camaragal country. Okay, then I think that's all I have. Once again, I urge you all to download our wonderful new annual report, because it's just gorgeous and we're very proud of it. Okay, I think that's it from me. Back to the chair.
Cool, and it's time for elections, which our returning officer Kitty is going to run.
All right. This year we had 3 board seats up for nomination. 2 were for 3-year terms and 1 was for a 1-year term. We received 3 nominations, so the election this year was only to determine the term length for each candidate. And as per section 10.4 of our constitution, the candidate with the highest number of votes received the longest term, progressing to the shortest term. So our nominees this year were, change the slide, Narelle. We had Daryl Collins from Akamai, Nate Garr and Richard Thompson. And the results were, next slide, Daryl Collins received 3-year terms, Richard Thompson received a 3-year term, and Nate Garr had the 1-year term. So thank you to all the members for voting, and congratulations to our nominees. Over to you, David.
Awesome, thanks Kitty. So that brings us to the end of our proceedings today. Thank you to all members who've come along and also to those who voted. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we close at all? No. Well, with that in mind, I'll call the 2021 AGM to a close at 5:27 p.m. Sydney time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. See you on the internet.